So when you think about like this particular statistic and what they're suggesting, in your lived experience, is there a time where you can remember being lonely, and was it connected to anything specific? I wanna see if you can run it. You believe I can run it. You see, girl, I can say you don't believe my age on shows. I can definitely show you things that I'm using. I can be 16. Once I get in, you won't let go. And now I have your girl wishing it was you. And now I know you heard about me.
It's been a long time since I saw that video. Young 16-year-old, fresh out the game.
See Breezy. But his name was just Chris Brown. No Breezy.
It's Christopher Brown.
Christopher
Pre-tattoos, pre-Rihanna.
I know. When you see babyface Chris Brown, you're like, who is this?
He looks so innocent.
I know.
And now he just looks like he mushes people. He looks like he done mush people before.
He done mush people before? He looks like he's done hard drugs too.
Definitely.
I think once certain places on your body, once you get tattoos there, it just gives...
Just like there's no way you didn't do this without doing that.
Yeah. You can't hold a job anymore. You're committed to whatever lifestyle you're currently on. And if you're not a celebrity, I'm thinking it's drugs. That's my automatic thought. Because how are you making... Well, I mean, there's many other ways to make legitimate money. So let me stop. But in my small mind is like face tattoos.
I mean, that's a jump. I mean, face tattoo, that's different. That's different. I think face tattoos now would be equivalent of like actually getting a tattoo in like the 40s and 50s. I know. It's like
wild.
Like you really are like letting people know that like you have chosen to live on the fringe of
society.
Yeah, like you just chosen to be a rebel or whatever. Like you said, fuck what society say. I think that's the equivalent of that right now. I mean, yeah, for sure. Maybe in the future, the face tattoos will become regular in some way. I wouldn't doubt it. I'm pretty sure it will be. People gonna get like tribal tattoos and stuff that's gonna like show their individuality. I'm sure, like, you know, especially with these tattoos that can be temporary.
Oh yeah, maybe a temporary face tat. Would you still love me if I got one?
Depends. What are you getting?
Slut me out on my forehead.
No.
Why not?
No, I feel like I don't need to explain myself. Just no.
Party pooper.
Yeah,
it's temporary.
Pooping
babe.
all over it.
It's temporary. Okay, what about
we on break?
The whole time I got the tattoo, we on a break. Why? Because you can't go out with me. I can put makeup over it.
Nah, just then don't get it.
Is there something that you think is acceptable for me to get as a face tattoo? Okay, so then it didn't matter that it was slut me out.
But it's definitely not like I would like listen, you know, like make a case, but slut me out. That's not.
What about if I got a little something under here?
What you gonna get right there?
Slut me out.
See, this is the Ciandra you don't know. This is the Ciandra you don't know. Only I'm
kidding, guys. Mm-hmm. It's just a little jokey joke.
I'm keeping all this in.
I'm sure you are.
Keeping all this in.
Go ahead, get started with the pour.
Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode 91 of the Buffet Podcast. We back at it again with your host, your boy Brandon, and I am joined once again by the incomparable Ciandra.
Hey, y'all.
Yeah. Like I said, welcome to another episode. And before we even get started, I need y'all to go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button because it really would help us out with the algorithm, push us out to a wider audience. But thank you. And let's get into it. Also, we're recording this now on the Cinco de Mayo, Cinco de Trinco, aka I heard the new one. What's it called?
You can't say that.
I can't. Ninja de Mayo. Yeah, because apparently we're not allowed to say the word anymore. I guess YouTube.
On YouTube, I don't think you can.
Yeah.
You want AI of you saying it somewhere, somebody to snatch this off the internet, and then
But they don't need me to say it for them to
make
AI.
their voice
No,
say
they just need to have like enough information about my voice, and they
never mind.
I mean, how you think Drake rapped those words that we seen?
I thought so. I thought that it was like he had said those words at some time, and then they just needed that to be able to pull to make a compilation of him saying it in that cadence. But no,
they just got they know enough of his voice that they can replicate it, saying they can put it over.
Podcast over. I can't say anything else. And you definitely have to cut out that first part. What if they call my mom and my mom is like, "Hey, Ciandra," and then it's like, "Slut me out."
They don't need it. They can just go back to all of the other podcasts.
I can't.
And again, and it'll be somebody. Like, I'm pretty sure sometime soon they're going to download. There's going to be an app or something where you're going to be able to download voices of people. It's like auto tune. How you can auto tune your voice. You're going to be able to do the same thing, but overlay the voices of famous people, or they have technology to be able to compile the voices of people around you, and you can like sound like your favorite person. So these phone pranks are about to get crazy.
Well, good thing for Scam Likely and being able to turn it off. It's the only thing is calling from they can't call from my number though. Do they have that? I don't know.
I mean, somebody sophisticated enough to probably spoof it, but let's not get into that.
Yeah, if y'all haven't checked out any AI stuff, it is cool. It is helpful. It can do things for you and eliminate the need to think about some things. Ask it a question and it gives you a very detailed answer. I think it's going to be super dope for students, like people who are still learning stuff, interested in learning more about a particular topic, wanting to develop their skills in certain ways. I don't think it's going to replace humans, but I do think that it's going to take some of the mental load off of us in certain ways.
But then there's concentrate on creating, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah. Or doing, right? Yeah. Like instead of having to create your presentation and spend all the time trying to become a subject matter expert, if that's not your area of expertise, you just a bomb ass facilitator, let AI do the subject matter expert work, come up with a thing. You maybe do the groundwork to come up with a presentation and then facilitate your ass off.
Yeah, but that being said, AI ain't that gangster yet. So make sure you check the work, because it's one of the warnings they say, like, hey, sometimes the AI would just make up information and it'll sound right because it doesn't have the knowledge. So double check your shit and make sure everything. You still got to check your sources and all that. You know what I'm saying? So don't be thinking you just type in, hey, plot me, give me a 10-step to $1 million in 90 days, and it's going to get you there. But no, I'm just saying, beware. There are some dangers. Anyway, we went on a nice little tangent immediately into the episode. All right, so this week we are going to go straight into our first
Moose Boosh.
Boosh it up. Not our first, really, our only a Moose Boosh. It's only one Moose Boosh episode. Boosh. Oh, let me go ahead and turn it up. Did you turn it up? Which one is this one about? Is this the
I thought you were going to watch with the other people and be surprised. Because that one time you didn't let me.
Yeah, I know. Oh, that one time?
Every time. Are we ready?
We's ready. We are ready. Ooh, that sounded very
country.
15-minute phone call at work would have brought me and my woman closer. A woman would ask me to make a simple phone call during the day just because she wanted to communicate with me, just because she wanted to feel close to me. I made it into a chore instead of understanding that was affection, that was caring, that was love to her. We allow our egos to get in the way instead of just letting go, instead of just understanding or trying to understand. But a lot of us can't understand what we don't understand, or we don't know what we don't know. But I can sit back and think my ego got in the way of simply making a 15 or 5-minute phone call during the day for the person that was closest to me. Relationships take work, but they don't take that much work. And if it
Mm. Mm.
What say ye, sir?
I mean, I definitely don't have anything wrong. I don't see anything wrong with what he said. I think he's spitting some facts, and you can tell my man sounds almost. No, I'm saying almost. He looks very repentant. Like, goddamn, this was all it was. You all right, babe?
My back. I wasn't sitting up all the way right. I was slouched down. Y'all can see these shoulders. Okay. I'm not gonna flex on them, but
go ahead, flex on them. Yeah, so
you do it too, babe. Show them the muscles. Muscles.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, I think he definitely has a very good point about, well, at least in this, if that was the scenario, like he feels like he lost his, was that his wife? He said
his girl woman,
his girl woman partner, or what have you, and what could have saved it was him checking his ego and like calling her during the day or what have you. Maybe that was, I feel like that's doable. I feel like that is definitely doable. And if it's not doable, then I would think that the explanation would make sense. Mm-hmm. So like, yeah. So I'm not even going to go down the whole like, oh, what if you had a job that like this? That's not really necessarily possible. Or what if she was being really egregious with like, you know, demanding of her time, like none of his time. Like, no, I'm just going to go with just off of what he said. But I wonder, what about his ego made simply communicating or talking to, you know, his woman during the day something that he just couldn't do?
I don't know. You tell me. You a man.
I mean, yeah, I'm a man, but I can't relate.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I can't relate to that. Like, well, I can relate to the aspect of like maybe there's some things that like pride would make it more difficult for me to do, like naturally, but like talking or like calling you for a few minutes out, you know, every once in a while, because I know that makes you happy. That's not something I don't think that's too much of that's not an ask for me out. That like my pride I don't think my pride will keep me from doing that. So just from that aspect, I can't necessarily relate.
Yeah. I mean, I think really this is a clip about like loving your partner the way that they want to be loved, and recognizing like in not loving them the way that they want to be loved, even if you do love them, maybe you say you love them, maybe you show them in actions that outside of this one action. But I think if you're not doing the thing that I'm asking you to do, and I'm still asking you to do it, like I keep asking you to do it, I do understand why this woman ultimately decided to leave this relationship, because it's like I'm asking for you, much like what the Gottman theory is about turning towards your partner, right? Like these bids for affection. Like I keep asking you for affection. Every single day I'm asking you for affection. Just a little bit. Just give me a little drop. Just do something that makes me feel like I'm loved and I'm cared for. And I'm telling you specifically, which is great, right? Not all of us even have the language to be able to say,
I need
like,
this specific thing,
right? I'm telling you what it is. I'm giving you space and opportunity to make it happen. And you are consistently underperforming and or performing it in a way that isn't like meeting the need. Like he said, like I'm doing it like it's a chore, like something that I have to check off, not necessarily invested in it and hoping to get something from it, or recognizing that you're doing something to make your partner happy. And so I think we often are in a place where we are thinking about how it will feel to receive love by our partner, but not necessarily thinking about how we are giving love to our partner and how they are receiving whatever it is that we're giving to them. Yeah. Because that's not what you think about before you get into a relationship. At least not me. I don't remember thinking about, oh my gosh, I can't wait to show my partner love in all the ways that they want to be loved. I definitely was thinking about, ooh, I want him to treat me like this. I want him to be this way. I want us to have these kind of experiences together. So it is, in a lot of ways, a relationship. You come at it looking at what you stand to gain. And then you get into it and you realize that there's a little bit more give and take than what you anticipate.
A lot more give and take. Let's call it spade a spade. I'm not saying that on some like, ooh, like you underselling them. But it's like legitimately, like there is a significant more of a give and take than you would initially anticipate going into a relationship. And
I mean, it's a lot to combine two people's lives together. The very beginning of your relationship is probably the easiest period. It gets more, I don't know if I would say that it gets more challenging. It just gets more involved. There's so many more.
It's more intricate. More
intricate, more things to consider, more more planning and preparation for not only like where you're at now, but like where you're going. Mm-hmm. I definitely think about, and I feel like we said this on the podcast before about the, when you're a kid and you turn 1, the first year of your life seems long because it's your only frame of reference. That whole year is your timeline.
So it feels like forever. That's all you know. Like a 1 year is 100% of the time you've been alive. So it's like, oh my God.
And then you get, and I think the same is true in a relationship. That first year feels like, woo, we done did it all. We done seen it all. We did so many things. And then the years start to add up, quickly start to compound on each other. And you're like, what?
Time speeds up when you get as you get further into it. The older you get, the further time feels like it speeds up. I definitely remember as a kid, a year felt like an eternity. I was like, I can't wait till I turn. The school year took years for a school year to end, and now like I'm blinking and we halfway through the year. So like time definitely from a perspective from our individual perspective, like definitely speeds up as we get older and have more experiences, and like a year becomes less in the bucket that is our lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the same can be true for this 15 minutes. That was a point that I was originally planning to make. Like this 15 minutes is not going to feel like your whole day. You probably won't even remember it. I mean, hopefully you're present and like you're aware, you're giving your partner what they need, but it isn't too much of an ask that it should feel like, oh my gosh, you're demanding so much from me. I can't figure out how I'm going to make this work with all the other things that I have going on. And it is an opportunity for you to connect with this person in a way that they need and gives you more good in the bucket. Because that's the other thing. Like, when you do it, it's a net positive for your relationship. When you don't do it, it's a negative for your relationship. It's not something that's neutral. If you don't call me today, when we get home,
you're going to hear about the shit.
Yeah, you're going to hear about it. And it's like, how often do you want to keep hearing about something that is 100% within your control, a behavior that you can change? Figure out the system. Like, can I call during lunch? Can I set a reminder on my phone? What time does she have lunch? Maybe I should call around that time. Like, I just don't think.
Well, and that's because of it. That's why I think, at least for this example, I don't think it was the calls that did the relationship end. So I can't imagine if he was doing what he's supposed to do in all other aspects, she's going to leave him because he didn't, or he was unwilling to call her during the day, during the work day for 5 to 10 or 15 minutes. I'm not gonna believe that. And if that was what broke the camel's back, then I don't know what was going on with that. That relationship seems a little skewed or in one way. I don't know what's going on. So I'm thinking, like, to your point, that the calling was probably a symptom of a larger issue, which in this case I feel like we could probably say safely infer, though we could be wrong, it was probably some sort of intimacy.
Yeah, attention, affection. Yeah. Loving me the way I want to be loved. So what's our big topic? The big one.
The big one?
Unbig the back.
Stop. That is probably one of the funniest little Twitter comments I ever heard, man. Oh my God. That's why y'all got to unbigging y'all back. And that is a song about it?
Yeah.
But yeah, the larger topic, I guess, for today is a topic that was brought up in the group chat for the boys and I earlier this week. And I'm sure some of y'all may have heard about it. I don't know what y'all news intake is or whatever, but it is saying that loneliness is pretty much the new epidemic during these days. That was it like over 60% of adults report. Oh, okay. I was like, what's going on over here?
I was trying to add some color to your comment.
Oh, okay. I was a little confused.
loneliest number that you'll ever know.
That's copyright music. But yeah, loneliness is the U.S. Surgeon General claims being lonely poses a risk as deadly as smoking a dozen cigarettes a day, declares it a national health epidemic. That is wild. It said a number of single households has. Oh, okay, no, that's nothing to do with this. But yeah, just like a lot of people are feeling lonely, especially with the pandemic coming down. And I don't necessarily think people are more lonely now, but more in the sense of like the pandemic highlighted like you couldn't drown it out through work or going out and doing social engagements. Like the pandemic forced motherfuckers to really sit down, and then when they looked around, they realized that you're like, outside of these events and things that I involve myself in order to step out, I don't have anybody in my life who are like close or intimate or what have you. And that, it was definitely it's a devastating realization for a lot of people. And I think we're seeing the response to that by all these wild, all this violence and all these like wild crimes that we're starting to see pop off these days. Just people are lonely. And as humans, that's not how you're supposed to be living. And that is a torture. That is literally a torture of like isolation. So yeah, very dangerous.
What were the ages that were covered in the survey data research, whatever that this is considered?
15 to 24. Say the loneliness epidemic is hitting young people ages 15 to 24 especially hard. Say this age group reports a 70% drop in time spent with friends during the same period. Let me see.
I was curious about the ages because I wanted to see what generation it is. So 15 to 24 is Gen X?
No.
Z?
Yeah, that's
Sorry, Z. I always get them confused. I just
X
like
is
the
the
way
older one. It's one older than.
I like the way X sounds. Z doesn't hit the same.
It don't.
Sorry,
we ran out of letters at this point. But,
I know.
And then it says loneliness increases the risk of premature death by nearly 30%. Damn. So, revealing that those with poor social relationships are also had a higher risk of a stroke and heart disease. Isolation also elevates a person's likelihood of experiencing depression, anxiety, and dementia, according to the research. Now, the 30% increase risk of premature death, that probably makes sense in the sense of like you don't have anybody there that cares enough about your health, like that would notice some shit about you. That'd be like, hey, you need to get that looked at, especially for the men. We already know that men in healthy relationships, their life expectancy generally increases just off the strength of your woman giving a damn about you going to the doctor or not.
Okay, so what I'm thinking as it relates to this topic is, one, this particular generation grew up online. And even though they were isolated, or in addition to being isolated during the period of the pandemic, they also were comfortable, are familiar with having social networks, having connections with people online.
Way more connections, yeah. Sure.
Yeah, and those connections, while they are real and can be very fulfilling, they also aren't necessarily tied to geographic location. So I got friends all over the world, but none of them can go to the movies with me or go to the mall with me or go out to dinner with me. So in order for me to have any connection with people, I'm meeting them or spending time with them online, and I'm still technically alone. Like nobody is hugging me. Nobody is like,
tough starvation is real too.
Yeah, like nobody is actually like spending time with me in my peer group in a way that like is allowing me to like learn with them, learn from them, or spend real meaningful time with them. And so I think that might be a contributing factor, as well as what we're seeing happening in the dating landscape. Like I think for my experience in college, it was a lot about like hookup culture, about like this idea of like, you know, just transactions happening between people, and that being the way that people were forming romantic connections, these very brief connections, like get in, get out, get it over with. And I'm curious if this generation is experiencing even like a hyper version of that, right? Like maybe we don't even make it to the hookup. Maybe we just text. And then there isn't any hookup. Or maybe we're in the situationship and like it just doesn't even escalate to a point where you have, again, that kind of in-person interaction.
I believe
where you actually are able to meet with someone, have the physical touch, have a conversation with them, and develop further.
I definitely agree with that. But 1 second, let me take a step back to where we're talking about the age ranges. Mm-hmm. They said half of the adults in the U.S. have experienced loneliness. But then they said the ages of 15 and 24, that group has been hit especially hard. So like half of adults in the U.S. have experienced loneliness. Yeesh.
So when you think about like this particular statistic and what they're suggesting, in your lived experience, is there a time where you can remember being lonely, and was it connected to anything specific? Like what were factors that contributed to the loneliness? And do you think that could be true for these people now?
Probably, yeah, definitely. I definitely recall feeling lonely like a lot during, growing up, just feeling isolated. I think a lot of it had to do with self-esteem or in the lack of it, like not feeling like I could put myself out there. Like, I'm not even going to try because I'm just going to get rejected. Like, people don't like me. I got a lot of fulfillment from like friendships and stuff like that, but that's not, it ain't the same. It's not the same, when it comes to a romantic relationship. So I definitely think for me, I was very into in my own head, in my social, I just didn't have a lot of confidence in my ability to, I guess, really interact with women on a romantic basis. So I just didn't try. And also I didn't have a very good self-image. So that definitely helped. That definitely helped that behavior and that thinking for me. So yeah, I definitely experienced loneliness. And then also there's the fact where it's just, now this is getting into, kind of mental health a little bit, where just this feeling like people don't understand you, like feeling like you don't fit the norm of what people believe a black man should be. And I'm not talking from like a sexuality standpoint and stuff like that, but I'm saying like I'm from a time where you used to get clowned for like anime. You like to play video games. You would get clowned for playing video games all the time. Like you weren't allowed to do these things. Like there's only a certain amount of acceptable activities for black boys. You know what I'm saying? Sports. You know what I'm saying? Rapping. And outside in the street doing something like this outside. And what have you might happen. And that shit. I wasn't interested in none of that shit. So that right there kind of put me outside the norm. I'm saying I was very academically inclined, so that kind of put me outside the norm. I was going to like magnet school, so that put me around people that didn't look like me. So, it was very isolating because the people I was around, didn't really interact with them. Then of course black people would be clowning on you, so you sound white, so there was a lot of that came together to be like, yeah, I didn't really fuck with a lot of people until I got significantly older, like into my 20s and stuff.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, babe. And I think to what you're saying, the idea around like self-esteem and self-confidence, there's so much noise on social media about what is the right way to be as both a young woman and as a young man, who you should be dating, who you shouldn't be dating, why you should be dating them, why you shouldn't be dating them, how you should behave, how you shouldn't behave. And depending upon like your time spent on social media, within 5 minutes you can see two totally different POVs, and you as a young person have to decide which camp you align with. And you're 15 or you're between 15 and 24. You don't know for real what it is that you want to be or what makes the most sense to you. So I think with all of that noise, it also is increasingly more difficult to decide who do I want to be and how do I want to be in the world. And I think when so many people are telling you this is how to be, and you have to decide who your role model is and who you're going to follow, it can be very challenging for you to feel like who you are naturally is enough. And that probably is also contributing to the loneliness, right? Like I don't know who I am, and I don't know if who I am is good enough to be able to go out into the world and have friends. It's influencers at every age range.
For everything.
Yeah.
There's baby influencers.
Yeah. There's influencers for literally everything. And I can imagine being 15, looking at women who are older than me and aspiring to what they have and how they are in the world, but also looking at the girl right next to me who is like, how is this possible? Why do you have these things? Like, what's going on? I don't understand.
Was it comparison is a thief of joy?
Yeah.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves. I'm going to return the question to you.
Okay.
Tell me, was there a time, that you felt lonely, and like what do you think contributed to that?
A time that comes to mind for me is my experience living abroad. My second year in Haiti was just rough. There was political turmoil, and we experienced a lockdown similar to what people in the US experienced, but even worse in the sense that like outside wasn't safe. So it was just a lot of time spent in my apartment alone. So I think that experience for me felt very lonely because Wi-Fi wasn't very stable. So there wasn't like always an opportunity to be able to call home and have those connections. And I'm a hugger. I need hugs. If I'm going through something rough, I'm having a hard day, I need hugs. And there was no one there to hug me. There was no like soothing anything presence experience.
I wasn't there. I didn't know. She didn't know I existed or I heard.
Yeah. And so that was probably the loneliest time that I can think of. And it just felt very isolating because I was someplace far away from home. I was alone. I couldn't go outside. I had colleagues who lived in the building who like I could see, but they also spent a lot of time alone, like in their own apartments. And everybody has their own cap and like tolerance level for being alone. But it was definitely, I think that was my first time living. Actually, in fact, that was my first time living alone in that way, like living alone. Full time in the apartment, like full time by myself. So
wow, what a way to learn how to be. That's your first like independent living alone. It's like pandemic. There's no one else around. Good luck. Ooh. Yeah, in a foreign country.
Yeah, so it was rough. That was probably the loneliest time. And I think it was factors outside of my control that made it that way. So much like the pandemic here, like I empathize with people who are really going through a rough time. Now, the pandemic in America, that was a cakewalk for me because at least my family was there. Like I had moved back home. My family was in the house. I could get hugs. Everybody was there all day. I could still go outside for a walk. Like,
it was a very privileged.
It was a very privileged experience. And
you can work from home.
Yeah, I saw a lot more freedoms.
Yeah, you still got paid, so your life really wasn't too negatively impacted. You know what I mean? As opposed to a lot of people. So definitely we're lucky in that aspect. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing, babe.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Now, so we were talking about before I came back and asked you your question.
I don't know if that did anything.
On your side, it did. They probably still heard a little bit on me from my but that's okay. Now, it also bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah. We were talking about the effects of social media has on our perception of ourselves and things of that nature. Now, funny enough, I kind of credit social media for helping me come out of my shell.
Really?
Yeah, because social media really was the first time that I was able to see other black people liking the same things that I did and making it cool, making it look cool, made me have a little bit more confidence in like my interest and thinking that people really would want to talk about it and be interested in what I wanted to say. Also, it got me into like fitness, getting into the fitness, and that was a large part of my lack of self-esteem is I just didn't like how I looked, and getting into the fitness part of the YouTube and seeing like you can do it, like you can do it without having to eat like a grass eater, a salad a day type. Like you can eat real good and still lose weight if you're just willing to put in the work in the kitchen. You feel me? So like, and seeing that and seeing the workouts, it gave me a lot of inspiration to go out there and start doing it and started working. And I think it definitely benefited me heavily. So I definitely think not necessarily social media, but a little bit of social media, but more YouTube and like the learning that is available through it if you use it correctly, if you leverage it correctly. So there is a good side to all of this social media and like the globalization of the information and stuff like that.
Yeah. I agree with that. That's a good point. There definitely is information out there. It's about the discernment, really, at the end of the day, like figuring out the right sources, who you can trust,
right? What
information is directly applicable to you. Because a lot of people are speaking about their life experiences, and no two people have the same life experiences. I didn't live your life. You didn't live my life. We may have some similarities. There may be some things that are common threads that I understand about you and you understand about me. But those things only take us so far. Like, my POV is uniquely my own. And in finding information from other people, I have to figure out what to take and what to leave. And I don't think that we all naturally have that skill or, that we naturally have that skill from a young age, especially.
Because critical thinking, I don't think they really teach that in school anymore. Like, it's not really taught at all. And I think that's something that's needed more now more than ever, considering the amount of information that we are bombarded with on a daily, hourly basis. It's like logarithmically higher than it's been for like previous generations. You know what I mean? So like, we are bombarded with so much information that we need more critical thinking and discernment to be able to see what's bullshit and what's not, or being able to take information and apply it to your specific situation, and not being like, oh, because they got it, I should be able to do it, and if I can't do it, I must mean I'm not shit. And being able to discern, like, okay, they was able to do it. How were they able to do it? Why were they able to do it? What was going on with their life? That, you know, what do we got going on similar that's going to make this easier, and what we got different that's going to make it harder for me to do versus them, or vice versa. I think because we don't have that critical thinking aspect of it, we just go from we just look at it from like a 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Like, one was like, they did it, I can't do it, I'm not shit.
And that's not true.
And that's not how, that's supposed to work. And it's kind of sad. It feels like this is kind of being done on purpose. Like the type of thinking that is required in order to be successful in this increasingly diverse informational age seems like it's intentionally being withheld from people who don't have the money to afford that type of education or that way of thinking. And it could just be because of your circumstances that you just didn't have the opportunity to learn that, and you don't learn that until much older. When I say that, I'm just thinking of just like people who come from modest means, who's able to advance socioeconomically, and not in a different socioeconomic level than like their previous generations, but they don't know any of the information that the other side they just got through osmosis, and you having to figure that out and making all these mistakes and stuff like that. So I think that's going to continue to increasingly be an issue. But like I said, because of YouTube and stuff like that, the information is there if you just look for it. You just look for it. It's there. Thank God for that.
Yeah, like this podcast.
Yeah, so you want some good relationship information, you can Google that, and the Buffet Podcast should be one of the first ones that pop up.
We do not pay for ads.
We don't.
But
that would probably help. Y'all know us.
You can come to Death Row Records.
If you don't want people all in the videos, you know what I'm saying, trying to take your percentages and all that there. So yeah, that's where we leave you. That's where we leave you.
Final food for thought.
Loneliness can kill. I encourage all of our listeners and viewers and all the people that care for them and they care for, to look to your connections, whether that be friendships, whether that be familial or romantic or what have you. Look to your relationships. Which ones do you value, and think about when's the last time you did something intentionally to cultivate those relationships, because loneliness kills.
I like that, babe. I'm going to add on to that. My final food for thought. We both subscribe to a newsletter that gives us like little tips of things that we should do. And the question for last week was about this Pareto principle. So you get 80% of your happiness from 20% of the people in your life. So you think about who that 20% is, and it encouraged us to write them a note of gratitude. Like, thank you so much for being in my life. Thank you so much for all the things that you do for me. Thank you for all the times that we've had together. I look forward to so many more in the future. Anything like that, that just like spreads that love and appreciation for the people in your life, because it is true. It's not, like, not every person that you interact with, that you come across, is the person for you, but for those people who are, you should cherish them, especially considering the fact that there are some people who don't have them, who are just out here alone.
And footnote to her point, was it Pareto? The Pareto principle pretty much states that like 80% of something is usually caused by 20% of like a population. So like 80% of crime is caused by 20% of the population.
20% of the criminals.
20% of the criminals. Excuse me. I don't know. 80% of the. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that one. But you get the idea. 80% of something is usually caused by, like 80% of the wealth is probably held by 20%. 20% of the, the rich people. But I think the number is probably a little bit like even less than 20%. But y'all, if you don't want to know more, Google it. Use the information that is available to you and find that stuff out. That being said, we appreciate y'all tuning in to another episode of the Buffet Podcast, episode 91. And let me reiterate, like and subscribe if you haven't already. I don't know how you made it this far and you haven't liked and subscribed. You're disrespecting us in the podcast. Fix it.
Bye.
Peace.